Hello, everyone. I want to start by thanking my GPEC colleagues for organizing this, and Petra and Leslie and Ashok for inviting me. This is a short presentation. I want to talk about how at UIC we sort of moved from a specialized learning where international development planning stood as a specialization, just like any other economic development or community development or physical planning. And we sort of moved away from a specialized based international development planning to making it a core requirement for the graduate professional degree in planning. So it's sort of the story of a shift, and why at Chicago did we do so is the focus of this presentation. So international planning at UPP, that's the Department of Urban and Planning and Policy, has a long story. There was a full-fledged MUP specialization from the late 1990s. Since the founding of the department, there was always an international component. There was a course or one or two all the time, but then this sort of grew up into a full-fledged specialization. So that's three courses, like any other specialization at UPP: a theory course, a method course, and then sort of a studio or an application course. This happened because there was robust faculty support. There were 3 to 4 people on the faculty, sort of spearheaded by Professor Rafaela Naneti, some of you might be aware of. So there was a robust faculty support that supported both the introduction and sort of the delivery of this specialization. The student interests were not only limited to the department or the college, but across the campus. So at UIC, this was sort of seen as a resource where students from other departments, especially public health and social work, took interest in this specialization. It never was a bigger specialization as physical planning or economic development or even community development, which are historically some of the bigger specializations at UIC, but there was always 8 to 10 students that followed it and specialized in this. Somewhere around mid 2010s, so this is sort of about the same timeline where GPEC sort of started talking about that we should institutionalize this as a core requirement, as a required course. In the master's degree programs, we sort of made a move where we abolished, or we sort of gave up on the international development specialization, and instead we decided on 2 things. One, that every course that we do and deliver in the department should have some international component, right? But that's left to the individual faculty that delivers that particular course. And in addition, that we would have a required course in the MUP curriculum, right, which is a mandated course, a required course. Every graduate student takes it from 2017. Why did that happen? Many faculty members who were sort of, the advocates and the proponents of the international development specialization and coursework retired. We happened to do 2 sort of episodes of curriculum restructuring. We realized that the field is changing, from the old development, international development oriented model. We sort of moving into a more globalized world where parts of the third world now look like first world, and parts of Chicago like third world, including many other places in the United States. So the field itself is changing, and the faculty sort of needs to, rethink through the curriculum. These are larger changes, and that requires some heavy lifting at the end of individual instructors. So, curriculum restructuring, the field itself changing, faculty retiring, and most important, not many opportunities for graduates. And this is something, program administrators in different parts of the country want to pay attention to. We realized even in Chicago, many of our graduates are not able to find internships and jobs that sort of fit well with international development planning. So I am not aware, or I'm not sure what would be happening in some of the schools that are located at smaller geographies and smaller places, right? So if I'm going to school, let's say in a small town in Iowa, and if I ended up doing international development planning, what kind of an internship I'm looking at, or what kind of a job I'm looking at once I graduate. All of these things set sort of wheels in motion where we realize we are better off sort of, thinking of the core where everyone, every graduate student, rather than pursuing a specialization, takes a course that exposes everyone to global urbanization and planning. So this chart here sort of shows you core courses for the master's professional planning program before fall 2018 and after fall 2018. And at the bottom, you sort of see there's a new course on global urbanization and planning that everyone takes. Now, since 2018, it's been only 2-3 years, and last 1 year has not been, something everyone wants to remember. So I do not really have robust empirical course evaluation data. Some of what I say sort of speculative and anecdotal nature. Nonetheless, it helps us think through what institutionalizing course in global urbanization at the core does for us. So lessons learned so far. Graduate students, irrespective of the background they come from or their major in the undergraduate, they are receptive and even appreciative of at the opportunity that they can do a course or they have to do a core course in international planning. The cohort size is an important factor, that program administrators want to keep in mind. You want to look at whether you have faculty expertise and what's your cohort size. For example, in the last 2-3 years, we have had about 40 to 50 incoming students in the fall and another 10 to 15 in the spring. So if we have 60 students that we have to do this, teaching a course to 60 students in a lecture format, right? Is not easy and perhaps not the best, does not provide the best student experience. So we had to break it, right? So we had to offer a course every semester. So there's a course in fall and spring. Now that draws upon faculty resources, right? And at this particular point, the administrators are paying attention to class size, how much can we afford, and so on and so forth. So you want to keep an eye, if you were to do this, to offer a core course, then, what's the course design, how it would be delivered. Now, and another point is more required classes in the core, however, pose other problems, such as students' inability to take specialized courses they would have otherwise pursued. If we sort of go back, you said, you don't want to put too many courses in the core, and that increases size of the core and limiting the size of electives that students can take. So that's where we stand at UIC. Overall, it's a positive experiment at some level, but nonetheless, I would advise paying attention to these two issues. How bigger you want your cohort, your core of the graduate program to be, and then how much faculty resources do you have in order to deliver such a requirement were you to decide in this manner. Thank you. I'll be happy to take questions if any.